And welcome into Poke the Bear, episode 127. I'm Evan Marinofsky. That's Conor Ryan. Conor, what is up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. I'm in a different location. I'm back the home at my childhood home. So there are
Marinofsky abode.
The Marinofsky abode. There are this is my old bedroom. There's no bed in it because it's at my new place. There's no lights, so I'm using sunlight from the window. So this is as natural as it gets. For
you gonna sleep like a vampire? Are you just gonna sleep upright, or
I might have to sleep on the floor. I might just go straight across. No, I'm lucky.
Just
I get the guest room. I get the guest room,
good.
which is
Good.
great. I got my own TV for my Xbox and stuff. So I personalize it. I have to.
Yes.
But at any rate, this is being recorded prior to the Bruins back-to-back against the Winnipeg Jets and the New Jersey Devils, prior to Christmas, before the little Christmas break. But again, fun stuff the other night in the Bruins. Conor, Clifton, and Carlo getting the first two goals. By the way, how stunned were you when you learned that Conor Clifton does not like Cliffy hockey?
Quite the revelation. It's almost like when it was revealed, I think we got insider information that Nick Ritchie wasn't a fan of when I think
you and
Ty
I were
Anderson,
there. You and I were both there when that happened.
when the esteemed Ty Anderson has his meme of Nick Ritchie's beautiful face on the moon superimposed against that. He wasn't a fan of that. It was a true revelation. It's like when you find out behind the scenes for movies, all these cherished movies you love, and you find out afterwards the cast all hated each other. There's fights on set.
Didn't Will Ferrell hate the director of Elf or the guy who put Elf together? I saw that in a TikTok once. That might be complete BS, but I think
there's something like that. There's always those kind of stories, but when you find out something like that, where it's Nick Ritchie doesn't like the moon meme, or you have Conor Clifton not liking Cliffy hockey, it's a revelation. But I mean, I get where Jim Montgomery's saying that the Cliffy hockey term was more of describing him being reckless, which I don't know. I view it more as just the bombastic nature of him. You take the good and the bad, right? Of there's stretches where he has the puck on a stick and becomes Paul Coffey for a shift. You're what the hell was that? I think that's Cliffy hockey more than I'm gonna line up a guy and try to knock him into the next dimension and lead to an odd man rush or something like that. So.
Yeah, I never thought it was derogatory. I mean, his teammates used to say it. I went back and looked, and back in 2019 in the playoffs, I remember Torrey Krug said "Oh, that's Cliffy hockey." Just, he would just take over a game for 30 seconds. But again, it's his thing. So I mean, if he doesn't like it, we abide by it. I mean, it's just it's the way it goes. But didn't Montgomery give him a new term, or did he not give a new term?
I don't think he gave a new. I don't think he gave a new term yet, but I don't know. We'll see. It's Bruins. Bruins fans will think of something, right? Or they'll just keep on calling him Cliffy hockey. There's plenty of nicknames I feel stick that the players don't even like. I feel time again.
I saw so many tweets of people being "We respect you, Conor, but we're still calling you Cliffy hockey."
Yes, exactly.
That was a lot of the response to that. But fans will come up with something different. But again, Clifton scored. Carlo finally scored a goal. Which for him is big, and he's been good. Is he someone that you see as kind of flying under the radar?
Yeah, I think for Carlo, one, it has to be, a huge boost for his confidence just to score that goal. It also wasn't a play, right, where it's just firing a shot from the blue line and it redirects, or it takes a weird bounce and beats the goalie. I mean, he's not really a guy you view as being a offensive threat. He's not a guy that catches in the checks off of being a Cale Makar type player, I would say. But I think for him to kind of join that rush and transition, a really, really nice feed from Marchand. But for him to bury that chance has to do wonders for him just to get on the scoreboard and build that momentum. And yeah, he's a guy that I think Carlo, it's tough, right? Because I think he's got an uphill climb, both, maybe figuratively and then even physically, whether it's his battles with concussions. But he's also a guy that when he's playing at his best, we always do the comparison of he's almost like an offensive lineman. You don't really, a good game for him maybe doesn't translate. Or it's not like a guy like Clifton who, if he's playing with a lot of assertiveness, you can see it in his game, whether he's driving down low or what have you. You can see a offensive-minded defenseman like a McAvoy or a Lindholm or a Grizzly, when they're on their game, you can see a few shifts or plays and be all right, he's feeling it. Carlo, it's not, even when he's playing really, really well, or if he's snuffing out scoring chances, contributing on the PK, it's just not as easy to pick up. But I think when you look at his overall numbers, and yes, he's a guy that He's got a lot of D zone starts, got a lot of PK work, which leads to more chances where you can look bad, right? Whether you're at the net front and a guy slips past you, what have you. But I mean, when you look at his 5-on-5 play like numbers, it's, he's leading Bruins defense in shots against per 60 minutes, shots on goal against, scoring chances against, all these like metrics that for a guy that has that many D zone starts and kind of gets dealt the tough assignments, he's held up his end, right? It's not like he's a guy that's a liability out there in these minutes. Like, yes, teams will get goals against you when you're spending 40% of your time in the offensive zone. Like, you're not getting a lot of chances, but I think it's a situation where, all in considered, when you look at what his strengths are and what Carlo needs to do night in and night out to bring value to this team, I think he's really done that, especially over the last, month or so. I think when he started off bit slow, adjusting to Montgomery's system, has that concussion, of course. But I think over the last month, he's done what's asked for him for what his role on this defense is.
You hit on it at the start. Like, you don't talk about Carlo when he's doing really well because you don't really notice it that much. And I think that's the good thing. I mean, I haven't found myself watching these games going, oh, another missed assignment by Carlo. Oh, another, like, he's held up his end of the deal. He's a good shutdown defenseman. And the other thing I think with a guy like Carlo that we kind of overlook sometimes with shutdown defenseman, it's a really hard job. That's a really hard job. Like, I think we always focus on and we'll focus a little bit in a little bit on kind of the points end of defensemen and producing offensively. We don't often, I think, give the due credit to players who are shutdown defensemen. And we do Derek Forbert, obviously. Mm-hmm. But again, I mean, it's a tough job. It's a really hard job. And I think that's one of the things that, for a guy like Carlo, especially with his concussion history, when you're in those net front battles, when you're battling in the corner, things like that, it's not good. I mean, it's not an easy job, what is what I'm trying to say. And I think with Carlo, he's had a good year. Scott McLaughlin wrote about it recently, I think for EEI, that Carlo's been, under the radar, and which again is it's a good thing for the Bruins that he's been, doing well and hasn't had any injury issues of lately. So Jim Montgomery had an interesting comment recently regarding Charlie McAvoy. And it's kind of hinting at he's been good, but there's kind of like a second gear.
Yeah. It was after their most recent game over at the Garden in terms of what McAvoy has brought. And Montgomery said, quote, he has levels to reach. I think if you ask Charlie, he's not happy with his 200-foot game. There's moments where he's elite at both ends of the ice. What I like most about him is when games are on the line, that's when he's at his best. That's going to come at times, just like with Brad Marchand. Same thing. Neither one of them is at the top of their game yet. That's good. That's good for our team. And I do think that's right in terms of I think you look at the minutes that McAvoy logs, he's still averaging 23, 24 minutes a night. The points have honestly been there. I think he's only a point or two outside of being a point per game type player.
2 goals. I just looked when you were reading 2 goals, 17 points in 18 games.
Yeah. So, I mean, the points are still there. I think you look at
Montgomery, he's lost the locker room. It's over. It's Bruce Cassidy 2.0.
I think it's something when you just look, and it's almost kind of similar to Marchand, right? Where he's still a top 6 player. The points are still there, even though for Marchand, it's a lot on the power play, which has also kind of been the case a bit with McAvoy. He's helped out a lot by being on that power play, but I think it's just the full, game effort, not effort, but just the production or maybe the expectations, and something that I think you look at Marchand and what he brings every night, McAvoy, what he brings every night. And when McAvoy's at his best, I think Montgomery's right. It's his 200-foot game, right? We've seen many times in the playoffs where McAvoy will finish with 25 minutes, maybe like an assist or two, but it doesn't, paint the full picture in terms of how effective he is, whether it's delivering a big hit, having a stick lift, breaking up an odd man rush, something like that. And I think that's probably been the case for McAvoy. I would probably say a lot of it's been maybe in transition where he's been a little bit longer to recover a puck, or he's maybe not as assertive or decisive with that first pass, or whether to take the puck himself and kind of weave through the neutral zone. So I do think he's right in that regard, that maybe he's not at his best level. That being said, McAvoy at 75-80%, who's still getting better, that's still, the Bruins will gladly take that. And they've been helped out by the fact that, again, Lindholm's playing at a high level. Carlo, Clifton, like all these guys are playing very well. So it's not like the hopes of this defense rests on McAvoy being at 100%. But I think when you look at where McAvoy already is so far this season, how young he is, how much you can expect him to get back in game shape and get back to his previous capabilities, have to be feeling pretty good, right? Like, I don't think this is a situation. It's not like Marchand, who's 34, where you expect him to get better, but you still have that, lingering fear maybe in the back of your head. I think you look at a guy like McAvoy, who's, at his age, at his level of play, he'll be back in short order, I'd say.
I was thinking this as you were talking, and I think it's very interesting. When you really think about it, wouldn't it almost be more concerning if Marchand and McAvoy were at the top of their top of their games and were outstandingly elite, and the Bruins were the best team in hockey, but the rest of the team was underperforming? And
yeah, exactly.
In this case, you have the best team in hockey, and both Marchand and McAvoy, arguably the team's two best players, are underperforming. And it's because they're so elite. It's because they are so much better than everybody else that this happens where it's like, oh, they could be a little bit better here or there. And I think that McAvoy, unfortunately, is sort of suffering from that now. But you're right. I mean, McAvoy has those instances where he is just dominant. I mean, you remember those playoff series like against the Hurricanes where he just dropped Jordan Staal. Like, you have those moments where it's just like game-changing player. And I think McAvoy is more than just a game-changing player. I think he is, outstanding on that back end. And he's a BU guy, which is even better for you. Not for me, but for you. There it is.
Yes, of course.
There it is. Lucky you.
I'm not paid by the university.
No, never paid by the university. Good recruiting class coming into BU soon, by the way, next year. Always, good stuff. Now that I'm with New England Hockey Journal, it's a lot of recruiting and those kids before they hit
leading
college.
The charge, Evan. I appreciate it. I appreciate you documenting the next class of Terriers coming in.
I must admit, though, Connor, BC's next recruiting class is like the top of the top kids.
That's cool.
Congratulations. Yeah, good for them. Yeah, really cool for them. Anyways, it's Christmas time. Did you know this? It is Christmas time. Christmas is only in a few days. First of all, the typical Christmas questions, is your Christmas shopping done?
It is done, actually. I knocked out most of it. I'm very much someone who knocks out a lot of it around Black Friday and all that stuff. I don't need to be running amok the week before Christmas. I enjoy, being out and about on Christmas. I enjoy doing some shopping, but like the week before Christmas, no. I was at Market Basket yesterday, and my goodness, it was a war zone in there.
Well, it's always a war zone in Market Basket.
But there's like the blissful, like you embrace the chaos at most times in Market Basket. This was like bedlam. There was fighting. There was one pie left, and they were fighting over it, and it was like a custard pie, so it was like a crappy pie anyway. Ugh. It was not good. I needed to get out of there. I was like Jon Snow in the Battle of the Bastards, like where he's like trying to come up for air. That was me at Market Basket. So love Christmas, love the shopping, love being out and about in the city, spending way too much money, ruining my credit score. But when it's like the week before Christmas, not fun. At that point, I'll stay inside, watch Christmas movies. That's what the week before Christmas should be.
Well, I'm with you on this. I think it's so much better. I mean, maybe our listeners might disagree. We might be stressing people out who have yet to go shopping, which I think you're already stressed out.
Why you listen to the podcast then?
Yeah, go shop. Maybe they're driving there. Maybe they're driving to the local Target or something to buy gifts. But when you think about it, like, I love kind of the Black Friday to like December 10th, 11th, 12th kind of area. That's when I get all my stuff done. Yeah. And then after that, it's like you just kind of get to relax for the rest of Christmas. You get to just enjoy it. I don't think you can. I remember when I used to work at Target in high school and a little bit of college. I don't know if listeners know this, but I worked at Target for a long time through high school and college. And
they have your picture of. They have a mural of you in the Target in Framingham.
They should MVP
in honor of Evan Marinofsky. Yes,
this is the Evan Marinofsky cash register.
Yes,
register 7. If you ever see it, that was mine. But you'd see the people frantically coming in, the 22nd, the 23rd, and there was nothing ever there. Like they're just, wasn't a lot of stock. So it's always fun to see people. It can be fun when people are kind of running around all crazy for the gifts. You want to just get them early and get them often. But I'm done, thankfully. I can just chill these next couple of days. But the Bruins Christmas list. What would be at the top of the Bruins Christmas list, Connor?
I mean, it's the one that everyone expects. It's like when the kid asks for like a PlayStation 2 or whatever's the top video game out there. It's for the Bruins. It's got to be a new contract for David Pastrnak. But
Oh,
are they
yes.
going to get it? That's the question. Are you going to get it? Are you going to get it
Or are they
on
getting Cole?
25th? Are they getting Cole? I don't know. I think they might get just a little like layaway slip or something like that. I feel like that's
Well,
going
it's
to be
like, well, you know what's
that's what
funny?
JT Barry's going to send them.
When I graduated from fifth grade, my parents, I was, they gave me a little, like a little bag. It was probably like this big, and in it was a printed out picture of the Verizon logo, and they said, "We'll go pick out a phone in a few weeks." That was the gift, and that was good enough. I was appreciative of it. Maybe that's what Pasha will give them a little Bruins logo and just say, "Here you go." I'm staying, but we'll figure this out later. Maybe that's what's gonna happen.
And I mean, that's got to be. I think that we've already discussed quite a bit about Pastrnak in that contract, and I'm sure we will continue to talk about it because I still don't think this is getting resolved in the next couple of days, unfortunately. So, but in terms of immediate need, what the Bruins need to check off their list, it's David Pastrnak in that contract, which again is going to keep on getting pricier and pricier.
And we are going to continue to talk about it. I think people are annoyed.
Absolutely.
With that. You think we like talking about this? Do you think we enjoy this? This is not like fun for us either. I don't like discussing the same topics every week. You guys know this. But that's a big one. That's a franchise altering one. I think that's why that comes up so much. So hopefully that'll be on their list. I think another thing on their list, Jeremy Swayman finding his game. And I think if he had scored that goal, I think it's like a 180 in the season. Maybe it still is for him. Maybe, this
Vezina's back on.
Vezina is fully back on. And I think the turning to the new calendar will be definitely helpful for him into 2023. I think Swayman kind of writing his own ship will be good for them. And again, it kind of goes back to the McAvoy and Marchand stuff. There's no huge pressure to fully be like amazing, right? Not to, to be at your best right now, solely because the team is rolling. Everything else is working. Yes, guys will have their own slumps and whatnot, but everything just seems to be going right, which pretty crazy, Connor. We kind of did predict that at the beginning of the year, that everything would kind of go right, and it's gone that way so far. I will say, though, I will give Swayman this. I think Swayman should stick with those pads. I think Swayman should have those pads for the rest of the year. I love those pads.
Listen, man, look good, feel good.
Well, that's the thing. And like, my guess would be Linus Ullmark will start the Winter Classic. I think Swayman should keep those pads for the rest of the year. I don't think there's any debate on that. That's how you change a season. I'm changing up the pads, and from here on out, I'm just going to be nasty. No trade deadline acquisitions for either of us on what's on their Christmas list. I don't think, and we've said this, but at the moment there isn't anybody. Like, I know people are gonna the name of Patrick Kane will continue to kind of permeate trade rumors. I don't think that's urgent. I don't know where you're getting the cap space for that either. But I don't think it's worth dealing stuff in return for.
Well, I think that's the same thing. Like, would the Bruins want that? Yeah, I would also like a 23 BMW X3 with a red bow on it out front of my house, but it doesn't mean I'm getting that shit. Like, that's the thing.
Same thing. I kind of want that too.
I think that's like the Bruins mindset there, or how Bruins fans should expect, this trade deadline to go. Would the Bruins love to add a guy like Bo Horvat who can play on the wing, and then you have him down the middle going forward? Of course. But whether the fact that, one, you have to give up more draft assets, you got to make the cap work, and also probably pay Bo Horvat a crap ton of money because he's on pace for, I think, 57 goals this year. Like, he's picking a pretty good time to break out before he, gets the bag this summer. I think it's something where, of course, the Bruins would love to swing a trade at deadline, but is it feasible? I just don't see it happening. I think we both would love to be surprised and that the Bruins have been banking cap space and have more money than we expect, or they move a contract or two and swing a move. But right now, I think I'm a little skeptical.
I don't know how it works. And there's not a need for it. Like, last year, they needed a top 4 left shot defenseman. The year before, they needed a top 6 forward. This year, it's not the same. They are not in desperate need of any big name player. They are set. Barring injuries, okay? If they have a huge injury or something, then it's different. Then we can sit here and say, all right, now the Bruins do have to kind of go into how do we add mode and things like that. Again, it'll probably be a depth forward or depth defenseman type deadline, which, again, I don't think is a huge problem. And it's not like in 2019-20. Remember that team they won the President's Trophy, but throughout that year, we said multiple times they are missing pieces. Like, this is a one-line team. this is not, I think we were pretty adamant about like they need more because this is not a winning group outside of that top line. Krejci needed a wing, and it was just there isn't that this year. There really isn't. Yeah. They have all the pieces. So I think we're singing a different tune this year, Connor. And what can people look forward to from you?
Yeah, we're going to have you covered again every step of the way over at BSJ. Of course, this is my last couple of days there, but we'll have you covered throughout this week. And in the weeks ahead, again, the people at BSJ will continue to churn out great quality content. So please still subscribe over there at bostonsportsjournal.com. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at ConorRyan_93.
Go do all that. Conor Ryan, Evan Marinofsky, you poke the bear. Let's just have a great rest of your week and a very Merry Christmas.